The door swung open and the smell of cheap restaurant candles hit me before anything else. She stood there in a yellow sundress, hands clasped, eyes already apologizing for something that hadn't even happened yet. "You must be Marcus," she said, and I just stood frozen in the doorway of Tony's Italian grill, completely unprepared for the woman in front of me. If you believe people deserve a real chance before you judge them, hit that like button right now, drop a comment with one word, kindness, and subscribe, because this story is about to change how you see strangers forever. My name's Marcus Webb, and 3 weeks earlier my coworker Brianna had cornered me at the coffee machine insisting she had the perfect girl for me. I'd agreed mostly to get her to stop asking. I didn't ask for a photo. I didn't ask for details. I just showed up that Friday night at 7, wearing my one decent shirt, expecting nothing in particular and certainly not bracing myself for anything. But standing there was Theodora. "Theo," she said quickly, like she was used to people needing the shorter version, a heavy-set woman with kind brown eyes and a nervous smile that kept flickering on and off like she was testing whether it was safe to leave it there. I felt that ugly little voice in my head, the one I'm not proud of, whisper something about expectations. I hated myself for hearing it. But I pushed past it, because my mother raised me better than that voice, and I held the door for her and said it was nice to finally meet her. We sat in a corner booth. She ordered a salad and then, almost defiantly, changed it to lasagna, like she'd caught herself shrinking and refused to keep doing it in front of a stranger. That small act of defiance was the first thing that actually interested me. I asked her why she changed her mind and she said, "Because I'm hungry, and I'm tired of ordering for other people's comfort." I laughed, genuinely, for the first time all week. The conversation moved easily after that. She was a third-grade teacher in Ohio, transplanted to Phoenix for her sister's wedding season, crashing on a couch longer than planned. She talked about her students with this glow that made the restaurant noise fade out. But every few minutes, something flickered across her face, a glance at the door, a hand that drifted briefly to her stomach, a sentence that started and stopped. I noticed it but didn't push. Something told me there was a reason she kept checking the exit like she was ready to leave before anyone could ask her to. Halfway through dinner, her phone buzzed and her whole posture changed. She apologized, said it was nothing, but her hands were shaking when she set the phone face down on the table. I asked if she was okay. She said yes too quickly. That's when I noticed the medical bracelet on her wrist, half hidden under her sleeve, the kind you get from a hospital and never quite bring yourself to cut off. I didn't ask about it directly. Instead I asked about her day, gently steering us back to something safe, and watched her shoulders drop half an inch in relief. We ended up staying 2 hours past when the waiter started stacking chairs around us. She told me, almost as an afterthought, that this was her first date in 4 years. Not because no one asked, people asked, but because she'd stopped believing anyone meant it when they said yes. That sentence sat heavy in my chest the whole drive home. I kept thinking about the version of me that almost let one ugly thought ruin a night that turned out to be one of the realest conversations I'd had in years. I texted Brianna that night just to say thank you, and she sent back something I didn't expect. "I almost didn't tell you." She made me promise not to mention her diagnosis unless she brought it up herself. I didn't sleep much. The next morning I called Theo, not to ask about whatever diagnosis Brianna meant, but to ask if she wanted to get coffee. She went quiet on the phone for a long moment before she said, voice cracking, "Nobody's ever called the day after." I told her I wasn't most people. She laughed, this small wet laugh like she was trying not to cry, and said okay. We met at a tiny cafe near her sister's place, and this time she didn't hide the bracelet. She told me about the autoimmune condition she'd been managing for 2 years, the steroids that changed her body faster than she could process, the friends who drifted once she stopped looking like the girl in their old photos, the dates who cancelled after seeing her in person despite swearing looks didn't matter. She braced herself the entire time she talked, like she expected me to bolt halfway through. I didn't. I told her that the night before, in that restaurant booth, she was the only interesting person in the room, and that hadn't changed one bit in 24 hours. She put her face in her hands and just sat there shaking, and when she finally looked up, her mascara was a mess and she was smiling anyway. The barista, an older woman who'd clearly been listening from behind the counter, had to step into the back room to compose herself. That was 8 months ago. Theo and I still argue about lasagna versus salad on a weekly basis. She still flinches sometimes when a stranger stares too long, and I still remind her, every single time, that the only opinion that mattered walked out of that restaurant holding her hand. If this story moved you even a little, I'd love to know. Comment and tell me, because stories like Theo's deserve to be heard by more than just the people brave enough to live them. Before you go, drop the word "worthy" in the comments if you believe everyone deserves to be seen for who they really are, not what they look like on the outside.